Good evening. Welcome to WSBI, your resource for success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring women-owned businesses from across the country. And now, for your host, Kimberly McElmore.
All right. Hello, and welcome to another night of sharing. With us, we have Jamie Tavera, author, parenting and lifestyle coach, and founder of Joy Nation. Welcome, Jamie, to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kimberly. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, it is my pleasure, and I'm so excited about having the opportunity to talk to you about your business called you're the founder of Joy Nation. So before we actually just dive into the interview, though, I would like for you just to take a few minutes and just talk a little bit about who you are. Tell the listeners a little bit about yourself.
Okay, who am I? So I've been an educator for 10 plus years, and the majority of my work has been with children who are birthed to 3 years of age, and I've loved it, and it's been really exciting. And I am, as you mentioned, founder of Joy Nation Mom, and that's where I provide somewhat of a support group online for parents who may have challenges, just moms who want to know more information. I really try to give that to them. And then I am a new author. I'm so excited of the book called Being Patient Can Be Fun.
Yes, I heard, and we'll be talking more about that on the next show that you'll be on. So we're not going to dive into the book today. We'll touch on it just a little bit, but
just
a tad bit. Yeah. So I'm sorry. So the actual name of your business is Joy Nation Mom. So
yes,
Jamie, where are you originally from? So tell me a little bit about that background.
Oh, I'm originally from the Bronx.
Okay, I can hear it in your voice.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I've been hanging out here in New York quite a bit here lately.
Okay. I hope that's a good thing.
It is. I can hear the accent, though. I was like, okay, she's got that little twang thing, little accent going on. So
okay.
I was to ask.
Yes, I am originally from the Bronx. My father is from Alabama, and my mom was from St. Thomas.
Okay. Wow. All right. Well, that's a nice mixture. So
it is. Yes.
Okay. So you say you're an educator. I heard that when you were
Yes.
introducing yourself. So talk to me a little bit how, you're working with kids. And I love this part about the kid things because I worked with kids many years ago in my own
Really?
business. Yeah. I actually own 2 licensed child care centers. It's been more
Awesome.
I've been here it's been more than 14 years now. So I have a love for kids. So when you were talking about that, I really want to kind of get an understanding of, first of all, what inspired you to do what you're doing? And then how did you walk yourself into this type of business?
Well, I initially, as you mentioned, I'm an educator, and I really enjoyed working with the children and their parents. And the greatest thing about being an educator and doing what I was doing or what I am doing is that I amassed a lot of skills. And I really realized that more people need skills or I won't say need, but they want more skills. They want to know, they want to learn more about how to have more successful relationships with their children. Mm-hmm. And with all the information that I've learned, if I could help out, why not? Right. And so I try to go somewhat of a non-traditional way of doing it outside of the education by going more into coaching.
Ah, okay. And I like that because I think that the education piece is extremely important, but at the same time, I think that we put too much weight on just the education and not allowing people to learn what those skill sets may need to be as a parent and learning how to communicate better with their children. And I think it's kind of funny because I think about when I was growing up, it seemed like there was never the problem of communication and that there was never really too much issue that I can remember growing up as a kid where there was too much involvement of the school systems being involved in your personal life with your children, and I think that's a big issue that we're seeing more and more is that everybody's putting those responsibilities and those roles and responsibilities on the school systems instead of it starting within the home. So when you're talking about I guess, educating those parents in a different format. Give me just kind of a couple examples of what it is that you're trying to help them communicate with their children more on, especially with the way the technology is today. How do you get them away from that format so that they're having these normal children to parent type conversations and livelihood that I guess we're used to seeing in the old days,
Yeah. Well, you're right. It's a different beast. It totally is a different beast. The way, I think I said to someone the other day, something like, when you can say, "Oh, that generation," it's like, oh, you show your age, right?
Right.
Because you're like, oh, wow. I remember when I was little, but really I think it always starts with what are the goals of that parent? Because they can come to me or talk to me about a variety of different things. It might be, let's say I was just speaking to someone the other day and they're like, oh, my child may give me attitude when I ask them to do something,
Mm-hmm.
or, maybe it is, the child is on the internet for too long, or, they're having difficulty getting their child to finish homework. Or be more responsive when they're asking them to complete commands or demands in the household, or complete their chores. So it really is depending on what it is that parent needs, and then going about it and figuring out a game plan from there. Because every parent is different, and every child is different, and everybody has different needs. And so it's really getting clear on what it is that they need.
I agree with that. But I guess I want to ask you this question. Do you find that the part of the problem today is that too many of the parents are trying to be friends with the kids versus having that separation of understanding that I am the parent and you are the child?
I can say that from what I've experienced so far, I've seen some of that. I have seen that. But I've also seen the old school mentality in the sense of, this is the way I was raised, and so this is how I want it done. And then there might be a disconnect in the sense of your child may need something else. Right. And the way you communicate with them. And they will be more responsive if you just tweak it a little bit, because it's just, you want to have the same message, but maybe a different delivery.
Exactly. And the reason why I wanted to bring that topic of conversation, because the way kids are today, like you said, everybody's different. So, for some kids, people can be boisterous. Other kids, you can't. They may have that breakdown. So it's understanding, like you said, how to deliver that. And I was listening to when you said, the old school mentality. And you're right. I can remember hearing it 100 times. And I've probably even said it myself, where it's my way or the highway, So, this is the way it is, and this is the way it was. And I believe there absolutely was a time where a lot of those directions really worked, but things have changed, and then I even find myself, as I've gotten older, and even though my son has grown, I can remember watching myself change when I was raising him and not trying to have some of those same restrictions that I had growing up as a child. It's because there's no one way that works for everybody, and I absolutely agree with that. And
even there's no one situation that will cover everything. You understand what I mean? Like, you might have to handle one thing one way and another situation another way. So in some situations you might have to be a little bit more firm. In other situations you might have to kind of coax them a little, try to get them to be on your side. So there's a mutual agreement, so that it's a win-win for both parties, and some people, when they may not think that way. We go, and that's going back to, it's my way or the highway. Right.
And then, of course, the way things are today, it's no different than what you're teaching your children in the home. I believe that it's the same type of situations you have to understand when you're out here in the real world, whether you're in school, or whether you're on your job, you have to have that same type of balance and respect. You have that authority figure. And I think a lot of times kids, all they see is that you're, as a parent, you're nothing but the authority figure. And they also forget that we actually have been kids at one point. They don't see that and feel that, that, hey, we used to be there at one point, and we haven't really changed that much per se, as far as understanding what it feels like to be in their shoes, So I think it's very interesting. And I love the concept that you're doing, because a lot of times, like I said, I think that's good that you would get away from the actual system and the way things are being done through the system, and really have that real time that needs to be dealt with within the families, period. Because I absolutely believe that 90% of the time everything happens starting from the home, no matter
yes.
what it is.
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can totally agree with you. Yes.
So I want to ask you a couple questions. So with this type of business, talk a little bit about maybe some of the challenges you've had building a business like this.
Well, going back to when you have a client, or going back to the whole my way or the highway, the old thinking, you may have someone who comes to you and they're talking to you about a situation that they might want help on. And then because they get stuck, it's like that change is hard. Change is so hard. And so to see things from a different perspective, because my goal is to give you clarity on the situation. It's not your wrong. It's not their wrong. It's like, let's talk about what the situation is from an objective, standpoint.
Right.
And then see how we can go about it from there. Because you're really bringing two parties together. Like, how can we do this, And so when you're getting stuck and you're not able to bend, you're not able to mold, that can be really difficult, because it's like you might have that breakthrough, but because you're staying stuck, there is none, or
right.
You start to see some improvement, and then you put some tools in place, and it's like, yeah, I see progress. And then just like with the diet, you fall off. And
exactly.
then the behaviors come back. And then it's like, well, this didn't work. Well, were you consistent, right? And so those are some of the immediate challenges that come about. And it's just really staying focused on the long term. Like, what is it that you want to accomplish? And going back and saying, okay, well, you know what? I see that we've, had some moments here. Let's go back and revisit. What are the basic skills that we're learning? What are the basic things that we're supposed to, that we're putting in place? And what's the actual goal? Okay, so it may not turn 100%, but oh wow, let's at least acknowledge some change, right? Let's look at some of the positives that are going on, right? So and that's another challenge as well, because if it's not given in the package that they want it, or even like, it's like, oh, I got a pair of nice shoes, but it came in this old bag, but it's a nice pair of shoes,
right?
Exactly. It came in an old bag, so now you don't want the shoes. It's a nice pair of shoes.
Right,
so,
right, exactly.
It's still kind of the same concept. It didn't come to you the way you wanted it to come, or they didn't particularly follow through the way you wanted them to do, but it's 100%, 50% better than the way it was, right?
Right.
So acknowledging
absolutely.
the small steps or progress too can be, it could be a challenge, and seeing the parents getting frustrated because it's not going fast enough. I guess that sums it up.
Right. And that makes sense. And I like the statement you made that, change is hard, but a lot of times people don't realize that change can be very necessary,
Yes.
and that's where I think that some of the disconnect is, whether you're dealing with the child or it's vice versa. It's just that, hey, things can't always be the same, and just looking at how that change is going to benefit you. And I'm sure that a lot of these families have more than one child. So, it's looking at the big picture all the way across the board of how one incident from another incident can help another person by utilizing those examples that they've learned by making those simple changes that took them so long to make, because they made it so hard on themselves because they didn't want to bend. Yeah. So I think it's amazing. I think I liked your concept, and it's amazing how people,
thank you.
I think the thing that amazes me sometimes, how it takes somebody else to constantly open up other people's eyes. Even when they already know what the answer is.
Yeah. Because sometimes it's the messenger. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's the messenger who's delivering it. It's like, oh, well, it's coming from an aunt, or it's coming from an uncle, it's coming from, And so just like as a child, you're telling your child, well, this is what you need to do. And they're like, whatever, Mom. But then they'll go to school, and then the teacher says the same thing. And then someone else says the same thing, or even their friend says the same thing. And it's like, oh, well, maybe Mommy was right.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly.
So it's the same concept with us. It's like it's the messenger. So coming from a third party, who's neutral, it's like, oh, okay. Maybe I will listen.
Right.
Maybe. Let's see. So
that's absolutely true. But I think that, I guess the other thought process going on in my mind is that how do you deal with the technology? I mean, today these kids breathe eat, sleep
They do.
technology. Their social media is what they live by. And I know, I think as a parent today, which I actually so glad that I don't have to raise a child in this day and age because of those challenges. You know, my thought process was, hey, go out there and hang out with your friends. Make sure you get back in before it gets too dark. You know, those things were simple. And today it seems like there's all these other pieces that come layering on top of, you know, that the parents have to face with all this technology. So how do you truly handle some of those pieces with the way things are today?
You know, I think with that type of situation and many other situations, it's, as we talked about before, it's really about coming to a neutral ground and knowing what you want for your child and knowing what your child is requesting. Because it's the type of day and age we live in, whether we say yes or no, they're still going to get it from someplace else. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's coming to a neutral ground and saying, okay, well, if you're respecting and letting them know what it is your let's just say, use the word standards are. And then they're also able to let you know what it is that they're requesting from you, to be able to say, okay, well, you know what, I can't give you everything, but this is what I can do for you. This is what we can do. And then having that open conversation helps, because if you just shut them down, they'll say, okay, but 2 days later, they're still back on because they signed into a friend's account.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But if you're open with them and you're asking, you're saying, okay, well, this is what's going on. You know, how can we come to a mutual agreement? And, you know, it's also old school, and it's hard to say I'm trusting my child without wanting to go and checking in on them, meaning you're basically snooping, right? That's also hard to not do. And so it's really being able to, I believe, come to a mutual agreement, and then both parties really trying to respect that, and then them knowing what the consequences will be if they don't respect that. Like if you're telling them beforehand, then they know what to expect. But if you just come in and say, oh, I'm taking away everything, or I'm doing this, or I'm doing that, there wasn't a discussion beforehand. And so of course there's going to be resistance. There's going to be resistance.
Right.
You
Communication is the key, right?
Communication is the key. So it's for every parent it's different. And so it's what you are, like we talked about, what you want for your child. So if you're okay with your child being on social media, I have some parents who, you know, or friends or families where their kids have, you know, their own Facebook accounts or their own YouTube accounts. And I'm like,
Right.
But they're okay with that. If they're okay with that, then they're okay with that. But then in that sense, in that same right, they have to figure out what are the expectations if they're going to have that much liberty in their home with social media. And then you have some where they're like, no. And then it's like, okay, but in school, they're probably doing it. So having a mutual ground, I would say.
Right. Because at the end of the day, we're, you know, there's all the kids, we're not their only influence, and that's really what it boils down to. And that's with anybody. It doesn't matter whether you're a child or you're an adult. And so those influences, like I said, if you're taking everything away from them at home, they're definitely going to find another way to get around it. It's just too easy today. You know, it's just way too easy. So let me talk a little bit about on the business side. You know, we all are in business, and you know, there's all these things that we've learned being a part of being a business. So talk about, you know, what advice would you give anyone who is deciding to open up a business today?
Wow. The first thing I would say is, and it's hard when you have a business because it's your baby, but everyone doesn't want or need your product. And why I say that is because sometimes we can be so excited that we're going and we're trying to push our product to everyone. And so they're not willing to support because it's like, oh, this person is being overbearing, if you understand what I mean.
Oh, I hear you.
Yeah, right? So, like, I mean, there's so many moms out there. There's so many, you know, parents out there, but not everybody's going to want my product or service. So I have to be comfortable with hearing the no and moving on. Or you have to be comfortable with hearing the no and moving on, and having a good rebound, like a good, you know, so that you can stay focused and keep your head in the game. I would also say that having a good support system is key, because you're going to have those people who are saying, oh, I don't see you, you know, doing this with your business, or how come they're doing this and they're successful and you're not. So having someone who's going to be there with having your back is important. And that person doesn't necessarily have to be a friend. It could be someone that you meet through networking, and they don't even have to be in your field. It could be someone who has the same type of hustle that you have and will keep pushing you to keep your head in the game. You know, as you're hearing those no's, they're like, well, I'm working on this today. What are you working on? So they're keeping you accountable, pretty much.
Exactly.
You want an accountability partner, someone who's going to have your back, like I said.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing I would say is have a mentor. Someone, it doesn't, and I started out with someone, but I don't want to necessarily focus in on what I really want to say is your mentor does not necessarily have to be alive. There are books, there are tapes, there are videos, there are people in the field. You don't have to necessarily know this person, but that person is giving you the information that you need. And so you need to have a mentor to keep you focus and kind of get a sense of what you want to do and give you the skills and the information that you need to be successful. And then the last thing and the most important thing I would say is you need to love what you're doing. Like,
Amen.
like you really need to love it, because you're gonna have the no's, there's gonna be up days and down days, and so this is not for the faint of heart. You really have to love what you're doing.
That's right. And I agree with that. And I could even caveat and say that, you know, it's not even just about loving it. It's just believing. You have to believe in who you are and know that whatever product or service that you are actually providing, that it is necessary. You know, and that's key. And I think a lot of times people forget that, you know, and even as business, once you're in it and you're doing well, we have to sit back and think that, you know, hey, we're providing this service or this product because we know we can do it better than the next person. Right. So even so, like you said, when you have those ups and down days, just sit back and think about why you're doing it and what is your real purpose. So absolutely, definitely got to love it. But boy, if you don't believe in yourself, you're not going to go long. So it's very important, very important. So, okay. So, I mean, that's absolutely great advice, you know. So for those listeners out there, you know, it's always about taking those baby steps, but at the same time, realizing that there's a mentor. And that's the thing I love when you said about the mentorship. A lot of people do believe that, oh, I got to have somebody that's going to walk me through the process hand and foot every day. But there's, you know, I didn't look at it the way you were saying it until you said it, that mentoring is definitely like picking up a book, because there's plenty of knowledge out there. You know, plenty out there. Even listening to this, you know, having a podcast show, all the information that people are providing today, there's no reason to not have enough resources available for you to build a very positive and strong business. So I really like that the advice that you had said and the way you said it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, okay, we're getting close to the end of the show.
Aww.
So, I know. Can you believe it? Honestly, the time is moving very quickly, which is, you know, it's a great thing, but it's like when you're having a great conversation, I always hate to come to that ending part. But the one thing that is important, of course, we would like to know how we can get a hold of you.
Oh, that's the best question ever.
It's probably one of the most important ones too from the night.
Most important. On Instagram at Joynation Mom. Facebook, it's a private group where I talked about, support the resources. That's also Joynation Moms. And then soon on Amazon. That book, Being Patient, can be fun. Yeah, and which we'll be talking about soon.
And you could talk about it. And actually, what is the name of the actual book too?
Being Patient Can Be Fun.
Oh, right. See? And so definitely, so it could be purchased on Amazon. But like I said, you and I are going to be hanging out again in the near future, because I want you to come and talk about your book on my other show.
And I can't wait. This was truly a pleasure. I loved it. Thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure to have you on, and I do appreciate you, because I know you've been running ragged today, and I appreciate you taking the time to stop where you were at, because I'm like, okay,
really?
We're gonna make this work. And I
appreciate it. You're like, you're gonna do it. See, Did we just talk about having a cheerleader?
There you go. There you go. And compromising and making things work. It always helps out. So, but I definitely want to just say, like I said, thank you for coming on the show tonight. And for everyone else, I want you to enjoy the rest of your evening. But I also want to tell you that, hey, make sure that you listen to us. We are on iHeartRadio, but we also are now on Spotify. So I'm extremely excited about all this great things going on with the Resource for Success podcast program. So like I said, listen to us on iHeart, listen to us on Spotify. But until next time, you all enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night.
Good night, everyone. We will be back next Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Follow us on Spreaker, www.spreaker.com/user/WSBI. View our new WSBI website anytime at www.wsbillc.com and on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram.